Not sure. This is not good. Yeah.
To order, rise to the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our clerk is out sick and our backup clerk was unable to attend, so Ms. Wong will be reporting the minutes. Start with a roll call. Ms. Moore,
Here.
Mrs. Thompson,
Here.
Mr. Gray. Here. Mr. Bittner. Here. Ms. Wong.
Here.
Mr. Lunder. Here. And I am present as well. All right. Approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of council, May 13th, 2025. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? I believe we have one, which was just the date of the minutes that were approved at the last meeting was April 22nd, not April 8th. Is there a motion to make that correction?
Motion made to make the correction.
Motion made by Mrs. Thompson. Second by Mr. Lunder. Are there any other additions or corrections we want to make on this?
Motion.
Roll call on the motion, Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Gray. Aye. Mr. Bittner. Aye. Ms. Wong,
Abstain.
Mr. Lunder. Aye. And aye from myself. All right. Are there any other, is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second. Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mr. Lunder. Do the roll call now. Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Gray. Aye. Mr. Bittner.
Abstain.
Ms. Wong,
Abstain.
Mr. Lunder. Aye. And myself, aye. Okay. Correspondence. Does anyone have any correspondence this evening?
I do. I received an email inquiry on April 28th from Michael Logston at 5910 Thunderbird. It's near Overlook Beach Park. He says though he hates to complain, the city has just placed a porta potty outhouse on the tree lawn of Thunderbird Drive adjacent to the park. This really is not an appropriate location and is somewhat of an insult to the property owners on Thunderbird as well as the neighborhood. I'm sure there is some reasonable explanation, although it has not been there in the past. Please suggest that it be placed on the north side of the parking lot, which will be less in your face to the neighborhood. The service truck for the outhouse will still have easy access on a paved surface. Thank you, Michael Oxton.
Any other correspondence this evening? We know we'll move on to administrative and department head reports. Mayor and Safety Director, Mr. Eva, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Johnson, members of council, the public here this evening. First off, the Envision Comprehensive Plan, the final public meeting will be held on Thursday, June 5th at 7 p.m. Brian Spaulding will be scheduling a meeting with all council members to discuss the comprehensive plan. I believe Wisconsin around June 17th. Cranes Landing Open House and Ribbon Cutting event will be on Tuesday, June 10th at 5:30 p.m. There'll be an invitation sent soon of somebody with Ryan Holmes. Mr. Parker can elaborate on this, but we've filed a pre-application package for the Dahlia Drive drainage improvements. It's been sent to Public Works. This would be for 2026. I put in a couple messages to Ken Flibiak, our Mentor City Manager, to set up time to talk about with Mentor City Council, Mentor Beach Park. That concludes my report tonight. I will also give Ms. Martin's report. She said, regretfully, I am not at this council meeting tonight because my son's graduation commencement is this evening at Playhouse Square. Concrete work may start this week, however, depending on the weather, it may not start until next week. On June 2nd, we have a temporary seasonal worker coming on board to help with service. We recruited the young man from Mentor High School's Workforce Development Program. He's been studying landscaping and horticulture. Resolution number 2025-R-20, the tax budget is due to the county on July 18th, 2025, meaning there's plenty of time for 3 readings. Nothing has changed from the previous tax year. We placed an order for the trees in Hibbing Park to be removed. The company said it will be within the next 3 weeks as they try to go out on non-rainy days. We will also schedule pest control around the same time to do our best to make sure the pests living in those trees do not spread to other areas. There was a question, I think, from Mrs. Moore about the service department doing the fence. The service department quoted prices for putting in a 1,862 linear feet of fence that in themselves. The materials alone are estimated to be around $30,000. The service department labor using 5 workers is expected to be a minimum of $21,600. And it's estimated to take up to 4 weeks of installation work if the weather cooperates. If our service department is focused on the fence, it will take away from doing maintenance on police and service vehicles, zoning inspections, grass cutting, park maintenance, fixing potholes, crack sealing asphalt, repairing catch basins, resident work requests, and building maintenance. The professional fence installers have all the equipment and experience needed to install within a week or less. They also provide a 5-year warranty. She did leave me some of the details behind the difference between us doing it and the fence company. That concludes my reports then.
Okay, thank you. Law Director, Mr. Hannah, I see you're replacing Ms. Schulte tonight. Is there any update at all from her?
I asked Ms. Schulte and there is no update tonight.
Okay, thank you. City Engineer, Mr. Parker, good evening.
Good evening. Just a couple of things to report on. As the mayor talked about, we did submit a pre-application to have Public Works Commission for what we'll call part 1 of Dahlia Drive. Obviously, Dahlia is a lot longer than the other roads like Southland. So much like was done last year, we broke it. Part we submitted on to do about 2/3 of the drainage improvement. Part 2 would finish the last part of the drainage improvement and overlay the entire road. If we went with one project, it would be pretty sizable project. I'm not sure if PWC would fund that. decided to break apart. That was submitted on Friday, and acknowledged by the county engineer. Southland Enbridge has completed the gas line relocation. CEI is in the process of replacing the bad poles that are along Southland, and when they do that, they're also going to brace the poles required to be in place with the storm sewer. You're looking at they're going to be done for the middle of June, and we would expect that Savarino would actually get started on the drainage improvements plan by June 23rd. So the target date at this point. That's assuming that CEI can sell their work done. Savarino wants to come in, start and finish, just go through. They don't want to have to work around CEI's poles and their crews and everything. Shooting for. Overlook Beach Park, we are meeting with the permitting agencies right now on the revetment. Understand what the exact permitting department's going to be to install the revetment. And then we're going to actually start working with the master planning with Parks and Rec community. So we have a lot of stuff doing that. And lastly, the beach drive outfall, we did receive notification that the OPWC application, the granted phone were both approved. For this. That's good. Get that started. That's my report.
Thank you. Other questions for the administration?
I guess, if there was any follow-up on this communication from Mr. Logan about the porta potty, so that we could maybe report back.
Well, I'll send the service department out and they can move it.
Okay, I guess, if you knew of a reason why it had actually been put in that.
It's dropped off by whatever company it is. So we'll
Okay.
make sure.
Terrific, thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Mrs. Moore.
So if I do the math correctly, if we have the service department do the fence, we're looking at saving about $10,000 roughly on that project, because it was over 60,000 is what she presented to us.
Well,
if I'm right.
We're paying them whether they're
We're-
doing that or not. It's saving us actually
And-
more like $40,000.
In her statement, she talked about them like working on the police cruisers and that. They haven't worked on the police cruisers as far as repairing them or anything in several years.
They
Jim left.
So
Since Jim left. Crack sealing, they only do one time at one point in time throughout the year. That's not something that they do multiple times throughout the year. And we have a backhoe and all kinds of equipment, so I don't know what kind of additional equipment they would need. I have a problem outsourcing things when we have a service department that is supposed to be doing those kinds of maintenance things. When you talk about building maintenance and park maintenance, I thought that's why we had a service department. I feel there's a breakdown here because we have somebody who is not familiar with all the things that a service department does, trying to lead and make decisions for that service department. I think this is breaking down because we don't have an actual qualified service director or service person making those decisions or weighing in on all those projects. And if that is being done, what's coming back to us is missing.
I have more information on. What she provided was if we were to rent a mixer. For 2 weeks, $440. And auger and bit rental for 2 weeks, $580. The labor, which is tear down and rebuild, 5 guys in 3 weeks is $21,600. 5 guys in 4 weeks is $28,800. The cost of materials, and this was a quote from Home Depot, $29,562.45. So the total being for 3 weeks to finish, $52,182.45. Or for 4 weeks to finish, $59,382.45. And then what she put here was the cons of us doing it. There's no warranty or if service installs the fence. She puts that A and B fencing warranties the install 5 years. no other city jobs getting done for the duration of the bill. And then, as you put it in the report, grass cutting, things like that. So that's either 3 weeks is a 52,182 or 4 weeks is 59 for you.
I have a question.
Yes.
So in her report, she said it would take 5 service department people. Do we have 5 out back plus Chuck for zoning? Is that correct or?
Sure, we could use Chuck, sure.
Okay, well, I guess my question is that she says it's gonna take away from zoning inspections.
Well, I could if Chuck's involved.
So that would increase it to 6 people though, then, right?
Right.
Can I issue or say something about the service department complaint? Not with offense or anything.
Whatever you'd like.
Okay, last week, they were putting up those hero signs or flags on Andrews Road.
Sure.
I come up behind the truck. No flashing lights on the truck. One guy standing behind the truck, looking around, watching the guy up in the bucket. They didn't have any safety jackets on, those yellow jackets or anything. And it happened twice that day that I was coming up Andrews Road. It seems like there was a breakdown even with the safety problems that we have over there. There was a truck, a garbage truck that was hit on Plains Road with all kinds of flashing lights. I could have seen
I'm stuck in your pocket.
if someone had hit the back of that truck, he would have hit the guy that was standing behind it, just looking around and knocked the guy out of the bucket. Now, usually there's another pickup truck behind that truck with the flashing lights. They didn't have that last week.
I will mention to him. Thank you.
Other questions? I had a question. Is there any update on the arbitration?
No.
When might we get an update on the arbitration?
The hearing was postponed. I'm not sure of the due date. I don't have the due date.
Okay, we will now move on to board committee commission reports. Ordinance committee. Oh, wait,
We didn't.
why is that on here?
That was not taken off.
Okay. Planning and zoning commission. Was there a meeting on May 5th that you have?
There was, the planning and zoning commission met on May 5th at 6 P M. In attendance were commission members Sweeney, Leonard, Weisenberger, and Wong, along with Mr. Snyder. Absent was commission member Kaysen. Also present was Mario Kachik, owner of Mario's Lakeway Lounge. The revised 2025 commission rules were discussed and agreed upon, including a final amendment to section 11. So that the new rules are now consistent with our new law director's employment contract duties. Under new business, an application to construct an accessory building on the property of Mario Kachik's Mario's Lakeway Lounge at 5609 Andrews Road in the form of a covered pavilion structure to be erected on the north side of the main building and to the east of the existing outdoor patio was approved by the commission. During the discussion, Mr. Kachik was asked to be sure that outdoor lighting associated with the pavilion is in compliance with chapter 1268. Given its position at the rear setback limit and against a residential district. 2 additional questions were also raised regarding buffering requirements between this property and the adjacent residential district per 1258.05. The commission did agree to approve the accessory building based strictly on the criteria as they are listed. However, questions about buffering were posed to the law director the following day by email, and if they do apply, Mr. Kachik has agreed to comply as directed. The meeting was adjourned at 6:45 P M. The next scheduled meeting on June 2nd at 6 P M has been canceled due to a lack of items for an agenda. The next scheduled meeting of the commission will be on Monday, July 7th at 6 P M. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Envision steering committee meeting. You were there.
I was not there. I
Okay,
was,
so we don't have an update on
right.
that.
I have an update for later.
Okay. Were there any other board committee or commissions that met that have a report for tonight? Yes,
I do. So Parks and Recs did meet on May
gotcha.
8th. It was just our regular scheduled meeting. We went over the drawings, as Mr. Parker said, for Lake Overlook Park. beforehand. Just had some great discussion on that and the next steps for that. We also talked about our movie night, which was actually the following night after that. Went very well. I was there in attendance. We had about 45 or so people out of the 60. Was a beautiful day. Haven't had many of those, so we've attributed to some people not showing for that. We talked about 3 more of them because of it filling up so fast, so we want to have 3 more. We're going over the pros and cons of having it indoor versus outdoor. Outdoor obviously cost, but the pro for that would be a lot more people. We don't have to limit it as much. So we're kind of still going over that. We're gonna do 3 more hopefully this summer. We talked about the annual garage sale, June 5th, 6th, and 7th. The chronic disease self-management workshop, which is in June, starts in June, I believe it's the Wednesdays. We need people to sign up for that. The sign up is on the website. They can't officially host the class unless there's a certain amount of people that sign up, so really need people to sign up for that. Our next meeting is June 12th at 6:30.
You, as our council rep, can you make sure that all of council gets the agenda before these meetings for?
Sure.
Because we're not on that distribution for Parks and Rec, so that'd be great. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other boards, committees, or commissions? All right, we'll move on to open the public to speak. If you'd like to speak, please come to the lectern, sit off to the side, state your name and address for the record.
About 459.95 Cedarwood, there in the. Last week. Very.
Somebody found.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good.
Okay. Last week was not a good week. We lost one of our own, Linda Bunner, a dispatcher. I would like to tell you not how she passed, but how she lived. She was a dedicated dispatcher. She was, you dialed 911 on your worst day, she would be there. You could teach how to do CPR, or maybe deliver a baby, or help you with a choking victim. She could calm you if you were exceptionally panicking. As a matter of fact, she did. 2 young boys were in a house fire on the 2nd floor. They didn't know how to get out. And Linda calmed them down and talked them out of the house. The fire department got there and the phone that those 2 boys had called from was melted down. So she definitely had saved their life. Linda was constantly, as all dispatchers, checking up on police and fire when they were on scene, making sure that they didn't need anything, doing radio checks. She was first on every scene, and she was last when the fire department radioed back in. We're back at quarters safe. I would like to just take a moment of silence for Linda. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak tonight? Hearing none, we'll close this portion, open the public to speak. Then move on to legislation before council. Ordinance number 2025-0-09 is still referred to the zoning committee. Ordinance number 2025-0-10. I will read it by title. It's on second reading. An ordinance to amend the 2025 appropriation ordinances and declaring an emergency. This is regarding the fence. Any discussion on this tonight?
So given the discussion of the internal work. Being 52 to 50,000, that is in comparison to 80,000. Which is what this appropriations amendment is asking for the fence. Is that what we're comparing it to?
The ordinance is the fence and also the removal of trees.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
and
So,
also the pest service.
okay,
So you're looking at fence, trees. Pest.
Do we have a breakdown of how much the trees and the pest control is? And the fence for all three items?
I don't. I'm not.
I talked to her for like an hour and a half on Saturday night. I get along really well with her. She's been on council for over 15 years. It's
Tina?
good to have her on my side.
We can
Tina,
hear you.
Oh no. Crap. How do I stop it?
there you go,
There
you got it.
You got it.
I mean, it sounds to me by that comparison that this may actually end up being rather close in price.
Right, especially if we're not including the trees, the pests. And without having those numbers,
Right.
right,
Which would sort of make me think that the advantages to, I mean, if the price is going to be somewhat similar, I guess the advantages to going outside and retaining our service personnel for management of other problems that don't have to do with the fence, the pest control, or the park might be.
and I can say my neighbor just had a tree taken down 2 weeks ago. One tree was $8 grand, $8
Yeah.
grand for one tree. Do you know how many trees we're taking down?
I'm not sure, but another thing to take into account is. The residents on Springer, some of those, once that fence comes down. There is just open space there, and some, have talked about pets and other things. And we know they roam through that park all day and all night, and I worry about. A couple years ago, we had somebody, burglarize one of the houses over there. So to me. It's beneficial for us to take that down as soon as possible and get the new one put up as soon as possible. Just my opinion.
I'm gonna be of the opinion that kind of the same thing. I feel that our service department could be used elsewhere. Yes, they can do it. I feel that they are capable of doing it. But while they're doing that, other work isn't getting done. As we've heard from the residents, their biggest concern is how fast can we get this back up? How fast? And now we're gonna sit there and tell them it could be 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, I will say that it isn't necessary that we do the entire fence all at once either. We could be doing this in sections. In which case it wouldn't be 4 weeks where it's down all at the same time. I mean, we don't even have to do the entire fence in this year if we didn't want to. We could do portions of it.
Agreed, but then you're renting the equipment twice. You're gonna rent that mixer again.
For 455, it's not huge amounts of money versus we're paying outside people to do the job. So, those are the things we're having to balance.
I like the warranty too.
I guess my question is, why do we have a service department if we're gonna keep outsourcing all this stuff?
They're very good at repairing the fence, putting up panels. But again, it goes back to. The residents that came in and talked to us, the residents that called. And said, can this come down? And. The pest control, I don't know what's going through the old fence or not. But. To me, take it all down at once and then as soon as possible, get up something new. There's nothing that's gonna spread to the yards, to the homes. Take care of it.
Well, the pest control is gonna happen one way or the other.
Correct.
That's kind of irrelevant to this whole question of who's doing the
It's
fence.
part of doing all this in the park.
You're still going to do all of the pest control, whether you take all the fence down now or not. It's irrelevant to this question of who does the fence.
Right.
Okay, is there a motion on this?
I mean, as much as I would like to make a motion, I would really like to see the numbers for the pest control and the tree removal. Just so we're comparing apples to apples along with the price of the fence to see what it is that, if there is a savings.
Well,
And I agree that.
Good.
Go ahead.
No,
Okay, and I agree that, we do want to get this back up for these residents
Mhm.
sooner than later. And I like the idea about staging it as well, doing, so many sections per week or every other week or something like that, but I still would like to see all of the true numbers for each expenditure for all of those three.
So I will say that the trees
Right,
and the pest control, those are separate issues because we're gonna contract out for those things. We're
Right.
not gonna do those ourselves.
right.
So really the only question is the fence. And so, yeah, we can get those numbers for those things,
Right.
but
Didn't we
In the
have the
end-
numbers for the fence?
we did have numbers for the fence.
We didn't have numbers for the
Just for
trees
the
though.
fence.
So the fence or the trees
I understand, I know,
are
yes.
outside, we're not,
I
Well,
understand.
that's part of this money though.
correct,
Exactly.
this one, right, but
Right.
what we're looking at is the expenditure.
But I just want to
of-
see the breakdowns, is what I'm saying.
Of the fence itself is what we're questioning.
I mean, likely Ms. Martin has it, she's just
Right.
not here to provide
Right.
it, that's a pretty quick piece of information.
Right.
Okay, hearing no motions, this will go on to third reading. Ordinance number 2025-0-11. I will now read it by its title. An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of $945,000 of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds. One, to pay a portion of the cost of the acquisition and installation of the Lake Street Trunk Storm Sewer and all related expenses thereto. Two, to pay a portion of the cost of the acquisition and installation of the Pinehurst Street Trunk Storm Sewer. And three, to pay a portion of the cost of the acquisition and installation of the Southland Road Storm Sewer and all related expenses thereto, and declaring an emergency. Okay, this has a deadline, which is before the next council meeting. I guess the first question is, we know this comes up every year. We do these bonds every year. Why can't we get them for the 3 readings? Why can we not get things in a timely manner? This is the same thing we do every year. This isn't that hard. It's an Outlook note reminding you to put it on our agenda.
I'll remind them.
Because. Okay, is there any discussion on this?
If I recall correctly, this is the one with the $295,000 increase for. Southland.
175, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
there was a $275,000 increase for the Southland project. That until she sent out the notice for what this ordinance was about, we didn't know. When did that come up? That's a considerable increase on that project, and what happened?
I don't know.
I can tell you from where I stood, the previous engineer had estimated it, and what bids came in was significantly higher. So once that was accepted, that's when the difference. So why that happened without going to the forensics, it wasn't that they estimated, and I can't keep up my head. I just tell you that the bids came in significantly higher than budgeted, WCF.
Right. And that's understandable. The question really, I guess, in my mind is. Why weren't we informed of this? Why? I know in December, we approved who the company was that got the bid, but we weren't informed that the bids were. Outside the estimate.
I can't answer. I would have to talk to this one.
Would that be a question for the law director or highway vice code that protects the cities in Ohio? When a bid exceeds 20%, it has to go reallocated for rebidding.
I'm not familiar with the particulars of this project, I apologize. But that can be done.
Discussion on this, yes.
What's the penalty if this isn't accepted in time?
Assuming our. I'm not even gonna make an assumption anymore, I'm just, yeah. There, what happens if we don't?
Default on,
As in like it hurts the credit rating
The credit
or bond
scores.
rating, or
Absolutely.
what does that look like?
all of the above. Just mentioned.
So to me, that makes any discussion we have completely irrelevant. Doesn't matter. It's a
Right.
done deal. Our arm has been forced again. I'm sure that that's not what was intended, but that is the sentiment. That is how we feel.
I understand.
So, you know, the law about 3 readings and is absolutely about transparency to the public, and this is a monetary, it's a financial matter. Sort of maybe thought of as, you know, business already said and done, because we're going to do this every year, but it's the process. So I think it does require a reminder, but it's an understanding of what we do. This is not our private checkbook, so,
I understand.
okay, all right.
Thank you.
Motion to suspend.
Second,
Motion made by Mr. Bittner, seconded by Mrs. Thompson for suspension of the rules. Now call the roll. Mrs. Moore,
I,
Mrs. Thompson,
aye.
Mr. Gray,
No.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
No.
myself, I. There's a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, seconded by Ms. Wong. We'll call the roll again. Mrs. Moore,
I,
Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Gray,
No.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
No.
myself, I. The ordinance passes. The resolution number 2025-R-18, I will now read it by its title. A resolution authorizing the mayor and the administrative director to enter into an agreement with Tim Lally Chevrolet to purchase a 2024 Chevy Silverado 1500 4x4 police truck at state term contract pricing at a price not exceeding $62,000 and declaring an emergency. Is there any discussion on this tonight?
Does this pricing include all of the modifications that's needed after it gets here? Or is that just the vehicle base price?
I can answer that.
I'm not sure. I can't.
I talked to the chief. Yeah, that's the total package from the.
Yes. It actually says that in the.
Yeah,
As
I see that now.
Memo includes the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all required upgrades. Yes, I see that.
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion made by Mr. Lunder to suspend the rules. Is there a second to the motion?
Second,
Seconded by Mrs. Thompson. I will now call the roll on the suspension. Mrs. Moore,
no,
Mrs. Thompson,
aye.
Mr. Gray,
No.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
myself, I.
Motion for passage.
Second,
Motion made by Mr. Lunder, second by Mrs. Thompson. Roll call, please. It's Mrs. Moore,
I,
Mrs. Thompson,
aye.
Mr. Gray,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
and myself, I. That has been approved. Resolution number 2025-R-19, I will now read it by its title. A resolution authorizing the mayor and administrative director to enter into an agreement with National Auto Fleet and Best Truck to purchase a 2025 Ford F-550 dump body service truck at state term contract pricing at a price not to exceed $117,000 and declaring an emergency. Discussion on this.
does this include like plow, salt spreader, lights, all of
Yes.
those necessary things?
According to her April 11 memo, it included all of that. Total price is 116,290, so it comes in at 117.
Yes, it says all required appearance in the resolution.
Yeah, and I talked to Chuck about this. And it's almost like it has to be ordered so we can have it for the season. The winter season.
Do we know how long after it's ordered it's gonna take to arrive?
I don't see that in.
Been appropriated.
There's been
Did we do the bid
appropriated.
process? It was state bid.
Yeah.
State general contract.
Right. So I'm not sure. Possible.
Is there a motion on this?
Motion to suspend.
Second,
Motion made by Ms. Wong, second by Mrs. Thompson, suspension of the rules. Mrs. Moore.
No.
Mrs. Thompson,
aye.
Mr. Gray,
No.
Mr. Bittner.
Aye.
Ms. Wong,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
myself, no. The motion passes, so the suspension, wait,
Motion
no, it
passed.
failed.
Oh.
4-3, so it will go on to second reading. Resolution number 2025-R-20. I will now read it by its title. A resolution accepting the rates as determined by Lake County Budget Commission for tax year 2025, authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the Lake County Auditor. As we know by our charter, this requires us to not be able to suspend the rules for it and it needs to go for 3 readings. We also need to schedule a public hearing on this, which we will do later in this meeting. Is there any discussion on this tonight? Hearing none, we'll go on to second reading. All business, all right, we're back to the fire truck. Let's start this out a little bit here. It's kind of a mulligan, this is your do-over. Since we rescinded what you put in previously.
Yes, so.
I'm gonna,
Sorry.
I have more to say here for this. For everybody's who isn't aware, I'll go through a bit of the timeline of how we got to where we are and why we're having this mulligan. Previously, the chief had asked us about increasing the fire levy. This was a couple years ago. And no mention of the fire truck was ever made. So on February 3rd of this year, we received a memorandum requesting a purchase for a new pumper truck. Okay. This was the first council that ever heard of it. We also had to make a decision by February 15th. That gave us 12 days to actually make a decision on a new fire truck that we had no knowledge of. New pumper truck costs nearly $1 million. This is not like just some, little trinket we're buying. This is substantial amount of money. At that time, we also hadn't even seen the budget for the year. So we had no budget. We didn't know where we were and what other expenses we were going to have, and we hadn't even had that discussion. So then the safety committee, because we were replacing a ladder truck with a pumper truck, which concerned some of us because we didn't understand that, we referred that to the safety committee and they reviewed it. And they recommended that, yes, we go with a pumper truck instead of a ladder truck. So that was their recommendation. That was their only recommendation they made to us, which was to go with a pumper truck. At the March 11th council meeting, we talked about the appropriations and the budget. We decided we were going to appropriate money for a fire truck. Okay. Appropriating money is the budgeting of money. It is not the approval of an expenditure. Okay. I thought I had made that very clear during the appropriations meeting because I brought up the backhoe that was purchased last year without council's approval. We had appropriated the money, we budgeted for it, but we had not approved the expenditure. Clearly that didn't sink in with the mayor and the administration. So we fast forward to April 22nd, where we're asking for 3 quotes because we want to go apples to apples between trucks. Not just the base price of the truck, but the complete cost of the truck. Okay, because if you're gonna make $200,000 in modifications to a truck, we need to know this truck and this truck, their base prices may be different, but they need different levels of modification. We don't know that. We don't go around buying trucks all the time. What? as we got to that meeting, it came to our attention through third parties that the administration had already gone through the process of buying the truck. An intent to purchase, you can call it whatever you want. It's the process of buying a truck. The truck they wanted without council's approval. We hadn't made a decision at that point what truck to get. We were asking for quotes and we're reviewing quotes for no reason because they had already made their decision without us. So now we're kind of just doing a mulligan. We're gonna do a do-over, okay? We've asked them to rescind their intent to purchase. And, you know, the process for normal people when you're buying something, especially when it's nearly $1 million, is first you inform of the need. Okay? You provide the justification. Then council buys in on that justification and we appropriate the money. We request the bids. We review those bids. And they have to be clearly apples to apples comparisons. They can't be base truck, oh, fully spec'd out truck. Normally you spec out what you want and you get bids to meet that, what your request is. Then council reviews the quotes, we accept the quote, we pass a resolution buying a truck, and then we order it. That is the order that we should be doing this in. This is why we're doing the mulligan here, because this is not how it's been. It's been a complete mess all year. So please, chief, this is your opportunity now to get this right. And I want to hear from you. Justify this truck to me without ever mentioning the age of the truck. Justify purchasing the new truck. Okay?
Safety. Cost of repairs.
Hang on, can you use the microphone so we can hear you, please? Thank you.
Safety, cost of repairs. They don't make parts for it. The maintenance costs alone justify replacing the truck. I understand you don't want to talk about the age of the truck, but it's a big factor. You have corrosion from the winter, from having water on it. You know, seals dry rot and start leaking. It's a safety issue. Our people need safe equipment and updated equipment to do their jobs appropriately to protect the residents of the city. That's my justification.
Well, I just gonna make one comment that. I don't doubt that we need a new truck. I have always been looking for the justification to buy the truck, not a reason to say no. And I will tell you that as the chief, you should be their biggest advocate. You should be selling us on this truck. You should be giving us every reason to say yes. And I am disappointed that you have not done that. And I'm disappointed. The mayor should also be the second biggest advocate for those people. You guys are their cheerleader, you're their defender, you are their leaders. And that is what I should expect from you guys. I shouldn't have to hear from them why they need a new truck. I should hear it from you guys. And safety, there's corrosion. That is a pretty weak justification to me. And I am disappointed. Okay, you want to say something, Mr. Linder?
Yes. One of the problems that I have is that you've known about this for a year or more of the problems that we have. That truck went down last spring, I believe. And yet you went ahead and spent $36,000 on repairing that truck and it's never left the station. That's the problem I have. It's a waste of $36,000.
So you prefer us to leave a broken truck in the base? It did go out. We've used that truck several times since it's been repaired.
That was not, you and I said something, at one of the meetings, you said that truck doesn't go out, it's like a reserve.
It's the backup truck, yes,
It's a backup truck.
yes.
Was it done, was it used at Cardinal?
No, was not used at Cardinal,
Why not?
because it wasn't the first truck out.
But yet it's an aerial, and there was two aerials shooting water on that building. Where'd they come from?
They came from our auto aid.
Well, how
That's
come
the
our truck,
reason we have auto aid.
why didn't our truck, why didn't our guys take the truck?
Who's gonna drive it?
I don't know, that's your problem, that's not my problem.
That's
We have
everybody's
fi-
problem.
we
You
have
know,
fi-
why
we-
would that,
We have firemen that are supposed to be trained to drive all the equipment.
and if they don't show up, who's gonna drive the equipment and run the
Okay,
equipment?
now we're getting to the point that they don't show up. But I still say, $36,000 is a waste of money that we put into that truck.
Yes, Mrs. Moore.
I have two questions, actually. First one is. You tell us that like it needs repairs and there's things wrong with it. It would be helpful if you would back that up with what some of those things are. I don't know much about fire trucks. I know it's red and it's got flashy lights on it and you go out and fight fires with it. But I don't know what goes wrong with them. What are your concerns with that truck? It would help if you would educate us about what the problems with these trucks are. Because again, I don't know. You're the person that comes to us with why we need this. And the more information you give us, the better decision we can make. And right now, we're not getting a whole lot of information to make that decision.
And when you say things like safety. I'll buy into safety. Sell me on safety. What are the safety improvements on this new vehicle versus the old one? You should be sharing that with us. Champion this damn truck.
Okay, it has an improved lighting package, which allows people to see the truck better. It has anti-lock brakes, so when you're driving in the winter time, you don't go sliding down the road in a gigantic truck that weighs tons full of water. It holds more water, so more water than the current truck. It has better safety equipment for our people while they're riding in it. Safety harnesses. It's a machine. It breaks down just like your car breaks down. We have a pump inside that spins, that pressurizes the water, that provides us with the water to put out a fire. It's old and it does not operate sufficiently or to the proper level of today's firefighting. Now, it is getting close for its annual pump test where we send it out and they test the pump. Now, every year they have to repair something, vacuum leaks, water leaks, in order for that to pass its pump test. So those are other items that are concerns.
If you get this new truck, what will happen to the truck that is getting replaced?
It will be sold at auction for ordinance.
So like, we could sell this inadequate truck to another entity, fire department, and they could actually use it?
I would assume that's why they would buy it.
So why would we, I guess, why would we sell it to another entity if it's not safe to use?
Because that's what's required by ordinance.
Can I ask if council members are changing their minds about the justification of the truck? Because during the appropriations meeting, we went through a lot of this. I actually think the chief did aggressively sell the reason we need a new truck. I am not an expert in fire trucks, which is why I actually have to defer to him, his judgment as to why we need one. And we can all look at the money that we have and the money we don't have and decide that we can or cannot afford a new truck right now. But seeing as that we already did decide that we had money and could afford a truck now, I'm just trying to keep us out of the weeds here. if we had decided then that the justification was there for a truck and we appropriated the money for a truck, then I think the discussion now on it should go toward the process we asked for at the last meeting, which was the do-over of 3 bids rather than state bidding process on the base, and a second ask for all the bells and whistles that come with it. What we're really interested in is 3 bids, the entire cost. Cost of the base truck plus the modifications required for that truck to get exactly what you think we need. Then I think that's the information I'd like to see. And if there are reasons why the lowest bid is not the best bid, then I would ask again for your justification as to why the best bid is the best bid. And there may be some professional or specifications reasons why that is. But unless you guys have changed your minds on that entire discussion, I'd rather not go back there.
Chief sent out, the 3 bids with all the specs about 4:30 today. What we'll do next week is sit down, put together a resolution and give you what you want, the maintenance, here's what's wrong. Here's what we've serviced, and, put everything. If you don't have a resolution tonight, we will do a resolution prior to the next council meeting. And sit down and put everything up with that resolution for all of the council.
Would be helpful. Also like to piggyback off of Ms. Wong's sentiment just now. In the appropriation meeting when the chief was there, he also stated in his 5-year plan, this 1 truck is replacing 2. Your heavy duty rescues going bye-bye. A lot of these extra accessories are necessitated to adhere to the capacity of a heavy duty rescue. Am I correct, chief?
Yes, correct.
I want to say one more thing. Go back a year ago, if we knew that that truck was that bad, then you should have talked about it last year. You would have had a better chance of getting that truck today.
I don't disagree with you, Mr. Lynn. If I could have gone back and done it over differently, I would have.
Yes, Mr. Bittner.
Acknowledge. Obviously, I'm in a very awkward position in this whole thing, right? Obviously, knowing my profession, I want what's best for them. I understand that it comes at a cost. You guys want to keep fixing this other truck, $36,000 spent in the spring, keep fixing it. What's the next bill gonna be? We don't know that. We may not. It could go out. It is old. The fact is, it's old. We replace things. I never asked or needed to be sold on replacing a roof over there because it was leaking. Right? It's just something that happens, has to be done. I trust that it needs to be done. It does. Vehicles break down. We replace our vehicles, our cars, perfectly drivable, but we replace them. Safety. I know what he's talking about in that. Yes, it didn't elaborate as much. I will tell you it is safety. The features on these newer trucks are far superior to the older ability. As you had stated, the safety committee met. The cost of a brand new ladder truck, which this technically isn't a ladder, by the way. I want that noted. This is not a ladder. Was far more. We found with what we have resources around us that we would sufficiently be covered with just the pumper. Like I said, we could keep band-aiding what we have, or we could put the money to something that's going to better serve the firefighters and the citizens of the, yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, correct me, this should last us at least 20 years. 25. Got it.
I won't say, I don't know that. We hope.
Yes.
I will tell you, being on the department here, we do take care of our trucks a lot better here than other cities. A lot better. They're not nearly taken care of in other cities, and I've been to a lot of cities. They're definitely taking care of it to last this long.
Anything else on this? Okay. Is there any other old business tonight?
Old business, Envision meeting. Ryan Smalley reached out from Envision and would like to have a work committee meeting with council. The date proposed was June 17th. I know most of us work, so after 4 p.m. would not be an issue. So
4
if
p.m.
after, anytime after 4 p.m.
I thought you said 4 p.m. I'm
No,
sorry. It was-
anytime after 4 p.m. would
Sorry.
work for him.
June.
June 17th,
that's
17th.
Tuesday?
Yeah. So if we can check our calendars tonight before we go to make sure that we can have this meeting so I can advise Ryan.
Fine.
Okay with it?
Well,
So we'll do it at 7 p.m.
It's good. So technically, this is a committee of the whole meeting?
Yes. He wants to discuss the priorities of implementation, and the review the plan document that the steering committee came up with.
Any other old business? Is there any new business tonight?
I have a question on, resolution 2025-R-19, was a service truck that failed tonight. Is there more information that's needed or? What can I give you? For next council meeting to get that approved?
I gotta tell you that I want to schedule. Let me get to this in a minute, we'll put it under new business. I think we need to have a finance committee meeting. I think we need to go over the budget where we are today, because. Here we have the $275,000 now that has been put on the bond. That we didn't know was going to be put on the bond. I wanna make sure, where are we in terms of? Income that's come in so far this year, are we on track, are we? You know, expenditures, where are we on those? I think we need to do that. Especially before we vote to. On anything that's going to cost us $100,000 and more. Money. Just to make sure we are on track. And yes, we may appropriate money when we did the budget. But those things change over time too. So the justification is always going to be needed. And emphasized. Before we decide to vote to approve any expenditures. It isn't. We justified it, that's why we budgeted for it. We budgeted for it because we have a deadline to pass that budget.
That's fair.
And so. I want a full justification before I'm willing to go on the expenditure part of it. I will budget for something. With less justification than spending the money.
That's fair, but we should have the data that shows that we need to rein back in our spending, or that something has changed, that is not the case with appropriations, and if that can be discovered in the finance meeting, then that's fine.
I would like to maybe make a recommendation of, administration that maybe. After we pass the budget, 6 months later, if we have a review, what are the finances? Maybe we have it as a standard. Moving forward, to see where we are, to see what. Are we overspending? Are we underspending? Did something come up that we weren't notified? $275,000? That we should have probably been told about. So I think having a 6-month review every year is probably worth our while to review these finances.
Mr. Gray, you're gonna have to schedule a meeting, okay?
You're still in new business?
Yes, still a new business. Any other new business?
What's the current status of LOBA financially? Have we been spending money for design sketches or anything as it relates to the Ventnor work ended?
Every invoice does that thing. About the setting for both, like over.
Yeah, we have invoice for the design.
The design.
Have we been
Just the
spending
design.
money?
Just the design.
That's not.
And then since we're talking about Loba and not talking about Miller Beach Park. Safety Director, Mayor and Fire Chief, have we put any thoughts now to revise your 5-year plan to encompass Lake Erie? What do we need certified for employees? Do we need certain apparatuses now, vehicles? If the intent is to open the beach up over there. Rescuing. The nearest rescue is 3 miles down the road. Or. Ashtabula, which is closed, or Cleveland with the Coast Guard. So you're gonna have 2 beaches. Should start, wonder if we should start thinking about. What you need to protect our residents.
When you say 2 beaches, there's just
One, but.
one
Long
beach
Beach
on
Park.
beach at.
With the revetment, there will not be a beach there. With the,
Not Menor Beach, there's never.
no, there's never gonna be a
I'm
beach
just
there.
saying, it's,
Well, I can't say never.
Well.
Right, thing. No, I get what you're saying, but
Mhm.
they attest to this, that puts you at a higher liability.
Oh, no.
All that other stuff. What's the? Is that by us providing that kind of stuff, it puts us at a higher liability, and most cities won't even have water rescue. They rely on others
You're talking beach access.
with beach access.
Yeah, anything else under new business?
But sometimes.
All right, we go on to open to the public to speak. If you'd like to speak, please come to the lectern, state your name and address for the record.
You know, I can't resist to get the opportunity. Paul Morris, 7592 Pinehurst Drive. First of all, I'm going to address my version of the fire truck. Having listened to all this stuff, I heard Chief Sachasko mention about the need for this truck to save. Yet what I didn't hear is the safe fishing. Everything he said about valve dry rotting, hydraulic lines dry rotting, that happens. They can be replaced, they can be repaired. If the preventive maintenance is done on that truck properly, perhaps that will be seen. I've also heard on Facebook that one of the firefighters said, well, they have to wait for the air pressure to build up before they can even move that truck. Well, that's the back of air leak. That's happened before in many trucks that have air brakes. You talk to any professional truck driver, they'll tell you it does happen. Can be repaired. Now, I want to address Councilman Lunder's comment about last year or the year before about $36,000. Go back a couple more years, several more years, where we spent what, $120,000 to $160,000 to have the frame under that ladder rebuilt.
I believe that was 70,000.
I think it was over 100,000, but I could be wrong. It's been a while. That would have been the time to say, hey, wait a minute. Let's not spend the money on this truck. Let's go buy another one. Instead of spending all this money, and yes, do I think we should chase money after it? Sure, because as Councilwoman Moore said, if we're just gonna sell it to another entity and they're gonna turn around and use it for firefighting, why the hell are we selling it? Because we wanna go in debt $1 million? And I'm sorry, Mr. Bittner, I respect your experience as a firefighter, but I'll match it. I've got a long time in the fire service, sir, with old trucks too. And as far as going in debt, we have a chance to buy Menor Beach Park. For what? About $1 million? I think we best spend that $1 million on that. Even if we leave 2519 the ladder truck as a reserve engine. And they respond with the ladder truck as the front end truck, which they're doing now. And wait a minute, the safety, the new truck has fancier lights. You can update the lights on that truck at any time. To make them pretty again. If that's what this is all about. $1 million for prettier lights. I have to agree with you, President Johnson. I did not hear anything in this that said, this is an unsafe truck. Does it start? Does it run? Does it drive? Does it pump? We've heard that thing passed the pump test every year. May have had to have some maintenance done on it before it passed, but it did pass. That's what's important, not the age. In my opinion. That's all I can offer is my opinion. Thank you.
Well, Bill's not. Okay, excuse me, 75, 33 Salida Road.
I'm sorry.
Parks and Rec.
Microphone, Jeff?
Oh, microphone.
Yeah, you might want to turn it on.
Thanks.
I'm so mild. On the Parks and Rec, you mentioned. The park was talked about, but I didn't hear details. Is there a write-up of what was talked about at the Parks and Rec meeting regarding the mobile park?
There are minutes. I don't know how detailed those minutes are.
Can I, since you get access to those, how do I do that?
I can send it to you once it's approved, I believe, or can I send it to them?
Well, they're approved, yeah.
Yeah.
Once it's approved, I will send it to you.
The reason, I came to the council meeting last week was to ask questions, and somebody brought it up before I did, and your representative said that at the Parks and Rec meeting, all of the items had been addressed that we brought up at the previous Parks and Rec meeting. And I didn't know what had been addressed meant, because I haven't seen any follow-up details from that. And the pictures that we received that were gonna be presented at the May 8th meeting, I didn't think they adequately addressed any of the concerns that I had about it. So I wanted to see if there was new information. And for example, the drawings still represent a 1,200-pound rock. A rock 2 feet in diameter. And I can show you 30 or 40 2-foot in diameter rocks that we call orphans when we live on the lakefront. They just simply slide out into the water. There isn't enough mass in weight, there isn't enough aggregate connection, friction in size to cause them to not be swept out. Cause them to not be swept out. And so in our conversation at the previous Parks and Rec meeting, we asked specifically who gave the suggestions, what math was done, who had looked at that plan, so that we could get some comfort level for those of us that have lived on the water for 40 years. We understand that, so I'm confused because the drawings don't match what I anticipated I would see, other than to say a 4-foot base going taller and not representing what I know works is a pyramid, a wider base at the bottom to help stop that from tipping over or having rocks wash out. I went down to Osborne Park and took pictures of the rocks they're planting 3 miles down, and they are not insignificant. They're all 3 by 3, 3 by 5, 3 by 9, or a cubic yard is 3 by 3 by 3, that's 27 pounds. So a 2 by 2 at 1,200 pounds, the outflow will do it. I recognize there's a lot of distance between the water and where the wall will sit. Water hits my house when there's 5-foot waves. I'm 30 feet above. So it will go out and create an outflow of water that a 4-foot wide wall that's 4 feet tall is gonna tip right over. Well, one of the members who heard that at the meeting talked about it and said, it's gonna fall over. It will fall over. And I just want to be able to look at those updates. And I never saw any information in the materials that we were given about who did the math and what their experiences were, because we know who usually does these kind of things. I don't know that Mark Haynes did that math, or that people from Putnam did that math. People who constantly are building on the waterfront. And when we get a 5-foot storm, 5-foot wave, it does not last an hour. It can last 30 hours. So one wave is not gonna be the one that hurts you. It's the 30th hour where everything goes north. I'd be concerned about it. I raise my hands like this. Because big rocks are better than little rocks. This is 3 feet. Big rocks, big rocks. Osborne Farm, all the farms have big rocks. 3 tons, 7 tons. But that's.
Anyone else? Okay, we close this portion, open the public speak. We'll now move on to announcements and settings of meetings. All right, let's see, I will set the public hearing on the budget resolution 2025-R-20. That will be on June 24th at 7 PM at the regular council meeting.
Sorry again. June 24th.
June 24th, 7 PM, public hearing on the budget resolution 2025-R-20. We have a zoning committee meeting scheduled for May 28th, tomorrow night, 6:30 PM. That's still on. Okay. Ordinance committee, that has been canceled, is that correct?
Yeah, I was hoping Ms. Schulte would be here today so we can review schedules to see when we can meet. But at this point, I think maybe we select some dates and then forward them off to her and wait to see her availability. I mean, at this point, I think that's what, all we have to do right now.
She did mention she was available on the 5th. It's just that that's the Envision public meeting.
Right.
Plus, I think
I'm out of town.
you're gone.
Yeah.
So we have the Envision public meeting on Thursday, June 5th at 7 PM. Yeah, when did we want to schedule a finance meeting? Do we want it to be a committee of the whole?
Yeah.
Can we ask the administration to be there?
We can. She's not here to answer that, though.
I mean, I feel if we're gonna go over what we're spending and stuff, she's probably gonna have the best knowledge. We need. In my opinion.
We need her to be there. Yes.
I mean, I would assume that we should give her some time to prepare the documentation as well.
Okay, then we'll schedule it the next meeting. Is that what the intent is here then?
Yeah.
Because we don't know her schedule, so.
We don't, except that what is currently on the agenda, we have things sitting in.
Yep.
Second, then are gonna go to third reading at the next meeting, which just means we can table them. It's not impossible.
Okay, we'll hold off on scheduling that until you're able to get her schedule. Okay, any other meetings?
Oh, when's the next park and recreation meeting?
Park and Rec is what, the 12th, June?
June 12th, 6:30 PM.
6:30.
Yes.
So did ordinance committee want to look at some dates?
Yes.
And we can, I'll email Ms. Schulte to see which one fits best within her schedule.
Yes. Mr. Bittner, when are you back?
I'll be back tonight.
How about the 9th?
9th is available and the room is open.
Okay.
Okay. I would like to give maybe a couple options. So 9th, would the 6:30 work? Either 6:30 or 7, depending on her schedule, just shows we have some options. I don't want to tie it down. Okay. Another option. The 11th, 12th, 11th and 13th is open that week as well.
Okay, if you're scheduling anything on the 9th, you need to set the exact time now because you don't have another public meeting to announce it at. So,
Okay. So the 11th or the 13th, we'll scratch the 9th for right now.
Oh. 9th works best.
I know.
I can't do
17th, 18th, nope. 18th,
17.
no, not 17th, there's an Envision we have our Envision meeting. 18th, 19th, or 20th.
Those all work for me.
19's good.
Is that a holiday? Should be
It
off?
is.
It's Juneteenth.
Juneteenth is us. You
Yeah.
take the school holiday?
Well, that,
I think school's out by
School's
then.
Oh, yeah.
School's out,
that's why these other ones are tough.
Ah.
right?
19th is
So
good.
19th, okay. Want to pick one more? The following week, the 23rd, 25th, 26th, and 27th is available.
They're all fine for me.
So 23rd, 25th, 26th. or no,
27th.
The 26th or no, 26th?
Yeah, 26th is available.
The Thursday, 26th.
Okay.
So the third option is Thursday, the 26th.
No, no, we're gonna scratch the 9th because we can't set a time without,
Okay,
yeah.
so
So,
19th or the 26th.
right,
Is Thursday the only day you can meet? Kevin?
Last day, well, that or Tuesday. But she didn't say any Tuesday, but.
that's the city council
I
meeting.
know. I know. Not 17th.
7th is the vision.
Well, I'm just anticipating, I mean, that one, I mean, if the Schulte is not available on a Thursday, for example,
Right.
we should pick a different day of the week too.
Supposed to do. I said Monday, the 16th.
Something, let's see.
Well, these.
You
must
wait
be
till
the-
July 26th. I know you guys are all available that day,
Must do-
including the Schulte,
Yeah, BZA.
July
is-
22nd. That's when we're on recess. Figured I'd give you a date, but I know everyone's available.
So we're not setting the action tables.
No.
So can we still communicate that dates before, right? So she cannot.
I do,
Thursday.
yeah.
I think we.
But I would like to have some
No, I get
dates,
it. I
so it won't slow down communication.
got
It's all on, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's all on you, but it's all on you, I mean, so pick something.
it. I do, and then it can't be work that day. What am I gonna do? Bring the kids.
Yep.
So 23rd. Is that Monday?
23rd is a Monday, it is available,
Monday, the 23rd,
okay,
fine.
It's like watching a tennis match.
right.
3 dates.
3 dates, thank you, I will email that off right now.
Are we good there now?
We're good, thank you,
That's great.
thanks for letting me.
Is there any other meetings that need to be scheduled?
Committee with Envision.
Next regular meeting of council will be Tuesday,
June
June
10th.
10th at 7 PM. Oh, thank you.
Second,
Motion made by Mr. Lunder, seconded by Mrs. Thompson. We'll now call the roll on the adjournment. Mrs. Moore,
I.
Mrs. Thompson,
aye.
Mr. Gray,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder. Yeah. Okay, we are adjourned.